that power of love that Jesus so resonated with and expressed in this world. I know some of the phrases he said, there were 3 profound phrases that Jesus said as he was going to his own death. And one is the same sense of love and oneness and unity, which is the story of Easter. He said when he's hanging on the cross to the thief that was next to him, the thief that hadn't lived the life like he had, that changed so many people, yet he said to this man, "Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." We're all on this journey of evolution, this journey of awakening, this journey of rebirthing love, this expanded love, this unconditional love that Jesus taught in our own lives. And we're doing it at our own pace, in our own way. One of the ways that we know is the greatest way to expand love in our life is faith. Because faith can allow us to live with confidence amidst doubt and paradox, which I would say is exactly where we're living right now. Can you tell how strong your faith is, that there's something greater at work, something bigger going on with this whole picture right now, and the whole world is experiencing a dis-ease, where systems everywhere are falling apart because they're not adequate to handle what's going on. The health system, the financial systems, the government, all of it is just, and it's like, oh, is everything falling apart? Yes, because it wants to come together in a new way, just like us. We're having time to come together in a new way. So let me talk for a minute about faith. To me, well, first of all, there's something in us. Everyone has a spark in us. Ernest Holmes calls it the divine urge to move from what we see with our physical eyes, this human experience, to something greater, the unseen. We have that within us. We want something more. It's in there. And faith, to me, is not just something we have. It's a relationship we build with God, with this power greater than we are, with this unconditional love, with this goodness. It's that relationship we have. So when you're checking in on your faith today, ask yourself, what's my relationship with God? How do I need to improve this relationship? Do I need to spend more time in prayer, in wonder of appreciation and seeing nature? Because if we look outside, nature hasn't forgotten to grow, hasn't forgotten how to grow. It hasn't forgotten that it's supposed to bloom and blossom and share with us. So decide what we're going to do to expand that faith so we can have a greater relationship, not just with ourselves, with God, but with all of life and the whole spectrum of this evolutionary process. Now, of course, one of the reasons, besides teaching his 2 commandments, love God and love one another with all your heart, your soul, and your mind, Jesus came to teach us about the immortality of our soul, that we have a physical body and a spiritual body. Actually, the cross is our spiritual self merging with our human self, our divinity and our spirituality. And he came to teach that even when this physical body, which, physical things break down, fall apart, and come together again, when our physical body is no longer the correct vehicle for us, that part of us that is eternal and immortal and true, our spiritual nature, will continue on. This was a very huge lesson to me just a few hours before we lost our 15-year-old daughter, and she made her transition. She said to me, "Mom, when you're finished with your work on this plane of existence, can you go at any time to do more important work elsewhere?" And of course I said yes, because that's truly what I believe. So amidst all the pain and the sadness around Jesus' death, around the death that is happening now, there's something more going on. And I think that's what Easter is teaching us about. Now, if we want to really expand our faith, we've got to do our work. We've got to do our work. And that means mastering this human experience, the vertical line, the physical beingness. Now, mastering the experience doesn't mean, some people say, kill the ego, kill the ego. I don't believe in that. I believe our ego is our personality, our uniqueness, our human self, but we have to put it into balance with our spiritual self. Now, if you think about the story of Easter, when Jesus was put into the tomb, he was told that he would rise again. But of course, the soldiers didn't want that to happen. They thought he would just leave, some way. So they put a big boulder, a big stone in front of his tomb. That's what many of us do to our own immortality, our own spirituality. We see this divinity and humanity meet right here in the heart. This is where we can truly sense the power and presence of love, of God, of goodness, of abundance, of prosperity, of joy, of kindness. All of this is right here. But we can put stones or blocks or build walls around that. So this flow of divinity, because we are here to be the expression, the outpicturing, the outpouring of God's goodness. That's what we're meant to do, to be that love unfolding. We can put stones around that opening where the two connect. Remember I said Jesus didn't know where God stopped and he started. That's our evolutionary journey. That's where we want to go. We want to be at the place where we don't know the difference between our divine thoughts and our human thoughts because they're melded together. But in order to do that, we've got to roll away. First of all, we have to become aware of the stones. Because the stones aren't bad. They're simply teachers. They're simply things we need to learn about. Pema Chodron says, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. Hint, hint. She goes on to say, rather than trying to get rid of an obstacle, that obstacle might be fear. It might be a lack of trust. It might be feeling unworthy, not good enough, not smart enough, not thin enough, not whatever. It might be all of these things, or the distrust in something good can happen. It might be that. But here's she says, rather than trying to get rid of an obstacle or buying into the sense of being attacked like it's happening to us, we can use it to see what we do when we're squeezed. Now, when you're squeezed in this time, what's coming out of you? Because I think the things coming out of us right now, I've talked about that every week since we started this stay at home, this distancing. I said the things that are coming up are things for us to look at because they're teachers. The emotions are teachers. They want to tell us, oh my gosh, I've got to know a greater truth than that. I have to know something greater than the fear, greater than the limitation, greater than the lack of trust, so I can move into a greater sense of peace. Patience is not born from comfort and safety. Patience is born from having to deal with things that are a little rough out there, things we don't understand. So I'm going to offer you, if you want to be this light and shine this goodness, this love, this peace in the world, what are the stones you're going to roll away today? What are you going to let go of, that you might have a better experience? I want you to think about that. Something you're going to roll away. I'm going to read a reading now. Easter is a time of wholeness and oneness. Matthew Fox, that beautiful Episcopal priest that we love, because he doesn't believe in the original sin, he believes in the original blessing, that we're all born blessed and we're here to grow into our greatest self. And the way we do that is through creativity, because it's a constant circle of creation. And it's new beginnings. We have to let something die to have a new beginning. And this is a reading. I've been reading a lot from John O'Donohue because he has a book called Blessing the Space Between Us, which seems so appropriate now. But this is a reading called A New Beginning. And he said, out of the way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander. This beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling that emptiness grow inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on and on and on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispers. Heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent. Wondered, would you always live like this? Then delight when your courage kindled and you stepped out onto new ground. Your eyes young again with energy and dreams on a path of plenitude that was opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust this promise of this opening and unfurl yourself with grace into the beginning, that this is at one with your life's purpose and desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be at home in a new rhythm, for the soul senses the world that awaits you. This is our moment to rise up to something greater. If we just trust and move out of the way, that's when we are lifted and the miracle appears. This is a wild experience, but life is wild. It's this process of creation, which is meant to be this upward. Ernest Holmes talks about an upward spiral of evolution, that our journey should be getting lighter and lighter because we're going upward and letting go of the things that don't work anymore. We're letting go of false beliefs. We're letting go of all these things so we can grow into being that light of love that shines out in the world, the light of understanding, the light of abundance, the light of joy, the light of happiness, the light of health. We can be all that. However, we've been given this little thing called free will. So we can keep ourselves either turning around in the same circle, the sameness, the circle of habitual living, or sometimes we can, even if we retreat in our thoughts, we can get even lower if we don't remember that we need to be doing transformational spiritual practices all the time in order for us to keep doing this evolutionary upward spiral, to lightening the load, to live in authenticity and truth and understanding and peace and joy, for us to live in that way. One of the things I didn't understand about the Easter story, I mentioned that Jesus said three very profound phrases on his journey of transcendence. And one was about the thief. And one was something that I've heard so much that was stated in the Bible that he said. And in Aramaic, it's Eli, Eli, imana sabachthani, if that's right. And it was, in one way it's translated, it says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And it said that was the last thing he said on the cross. Made no sense to me, because this is a man who'd lived his life in oneness with God. Why would at the very, very end he think that God had left him behind? But I read another translation this week, and I just loved it, and I want to give it to all of you, because I think it's so applicable to what's going on in our life today, where we've had these productive, busy lives, and we're called to stay in, to retreat into ourselves. And this is the other translation from the same Aramaic words, Eli, Eli, imana sabachthani. My God, it is for this purpose I have come. It is for this purpose, to teach what I know, to be the light, to share the good, to reach out a hand, to do my work. This is the purpose for which I have come. Instead of looking at the outside world saying, why is this happening? What's going on? Why is wine, which we go through those feelings, but there's a bigger purpose in it. It's for each of us to evolve and grow into our greatest yet to be. All of us. There's not a person who doesn't have immediate access to God. But we have to hone the tools to know how to use it. We have to hone our own spiritual practices to know how we can become our greatest version of ourselves. Number one, we need to listen. We've been given 2 ears and 1 mouth. We need to listen to that still small voice within that's always guiding and directing us to where we need to be and what we need to do. We need to listen to the universal wisdom in our contemplation, our meditation, our prayers, to listen to the bigger story that's beyond the little words we hear right now. And of course, we listen to our inner self, we listen to the universal, and we need to listen to others because God speaks through every person. You know, everything that's spoken, I've heard it made very simply, is either an act of love or a cry for love. And if we're on this journey of awakening, rebirthing, reactualizing, or expanding love in our life, recognize that that's what's going on. That everything is either an act of love or a cry for love when we listen and work and we do our part. We need to listen. And then the other phrase that Jesus said as he's been hung on the cross is, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. We need to practice forgiveness. Louise Hay said it should be a daily, if not an hourly practice of forgiveness. Forgive ourselves. Each and every one of us do the very best we can with the tools we have at the moment. That's why we need to keep practicing those spiritual tools, practicing those transformational practices that keep us open and awake. We need to forgive ourselves. We need to forgive one another. Forgive one another. One of the ways to practice this place of forgiveness, forgiving others, is be grateful to everyone. Think about it. Who are the people you love in your life right now? Be grateful to them. Be grateful for who they are, of all their greatness and all their smallness, the whole package, but be grateful for them. Be grateful to others. Be grateful for the people we don't know. We've been constantly seeing the gratitude pouring out to the health workers, the grocery workers, the sanitation workers, the city workers, people that are working through this pandemic, keeping our lives alive. So we need to be grateful to those people we love, people we don't know, and also people that if we had a list of people we don't like, they're obnoxious, they're threatening, they deserve contempt because they're acting poorly, we need to love them too. Because they're showing us a part of ourselves that we can't own for ourselves, something that we've hidden away. We need to love everyone. To practice forgiveness. And of course, if we feel that if we have a forgiveness for God, it's not God that's put limitations on us. We've put limits on our ideas and thoughts about God and what is good. So we need to listen, practice forgiveness for sure. We need to be grateful for everyone. And at this time in the world, especially at this time of Easter, when we're growing into the light of the world, when we're letting our light shine in a greater way, we need to be kind. Kindness tenderizes the world. The world can be pretty tough at times. And you and I need to shine that light of kindness. Remember, in the mind of God, there is no act great or small. There's just acts we do. It doesn't matter how large or small your kindness is. Every act of kindness tenderizes the world. We need to open and soften ourselves that we can be more creative. We can be kinder. We can be more loving. We can be more grateful. And we can live our lives with a sense of wonder. If we live our life with a sense of wonder, we will recognize and know that everything is sacred. The passage from Exodus says, "Remove the sandals from your feet, for the place which you are standing is holy ground." It says, remove the sandals from your feet, removing any separation you have from your oneness with life, your oneness with God, your oneness with each other. And then you'll understand that right where you are, no matter what's going on around you, you are standing on holy ground. Life is sacred, and so are you.